In this video, I'm going to review the Black Diamond Slinger leash. This leash here is pretty slick. It allows you to attach your ice axe to your harness, your climbing harness. I've got the Black Diamond Cool War on here. It allows you to click this bad boy into the ice axe. That way, if for some reason you lose control of the ice axe, it doesn't get away from you. Now, as you can see here, the leash is pretty reasonable. It is bungee, so let me get you some basic measurements. Now, why would you want a leash like this instead of a wrist leash? That's a very good question. Initially, I always thought like, oh, the wrist leash is the best. It's totally controllable. I can control and pick. Well, here's the big challenge. When you have your big Mondo gauntlet gloves on and it's freezing outside and you're struggling in the winter and you need to take your ice axe off and you have to take your leash off, getting this leash on over big gauntlet gloves is a little absurd and it's very difficult to handle. So it's never particularly comfortable, especially with mittens. Plus, it ends up being way too short so you can't get a good sling on there. So that is why, even though I prefer the wrist leash control, when you're doing mountaineering, a lot of times mountaineering companies, like the ones that go up on Denali, demand that you actually have a leash on your harness. Now let me give you some basic measurements here. All right. So unstretched out, this leash measures, in reality, it measures about 32 inches, or that'd be 60, that may be a 75 centimeters, give or take. But when it's fully stretched out, all right, that's about 55 inches or maybe 120 centimeters. So it stretches out good and long. Now, this comes with a baby carabiner up top. It has a little locking mechanism. It opens up there, clicks. It doesn't have any binding, any grip or anything. This is only rated for 2 kilonewtons. If you fall on this and you're relying on this, you're gonna die. You can see the Bartack webbing sewing here. And then you can see this crinkle that it stretches out just like that. And at the bottom here, it has a warning about do not use this for climbing. It says, warning, not for support or arresting a climber, 2 kilonewtons only. And then it has a nice big loop that you could actually ironically put your hand through. So this gives you a good idea of how this works. Now, when you put this on, you stretch this out, you get your ice axe. Now, I have my Camp Corsa, I love, or the Nanotech Corsa, was it? No, Corsa Nanotech. And I love this ice axe, but one of the things about this clipping into here and then locking that bad boy up is that it does get in the way of my grip, which is kind of a bummer, but that's just the nature of the beast. And that way I can be, if I need to reach and pick, I can put this way out, but you gotta be careful because this is stretchy and it will come right back in your face. And in fact, let me show you the gruesome, twosome instructions on this thing. I dug out my old instructions here, and it shows if you lose control of this thing right here, check out that picture. If you fall and you lose control of the ice axe, there is a chance that will come right back in your face because it is exactly the right length to have you do that. Now you would say, wow, that's pretty dumb, but when you're climbing and you get to put your ice axe in the snow or anything and you got the leash there, if you need to set your ice axe down for a moment and you got your leash up here, you're going to have to disconnect from your ice axe, and you don't want to disconnect from your ice axe when you're climbing because your ice axe is arguably more important than your crampons. But boy, this thing, I can punch it into the ice, let it sit right there, it's attached to me. I can move around a little bit, I don't have my short leash attached. So it's actually much easier for me to do stuff with this Slinger leash. Now, there actually is the spinner leash, which has 2 of these guys. So if you have ice tools, which means you're actually doing ice climbing, so you're actually doing ice climbing that can actually attach to the back of the tool rather than into the neck here. They actually have attachments to the back of the tool. And you can also, if you're ice climbing and doesn't have the attachment, you could attach the end of the Slinger leash right here. So if you happen to be climbing and you need to put that bad boy out, and you happen to be ice climbing with an ice tool, not an ice axe, that is a very nice feature to have. This guy is pretty easy to manage without gloves. With gloves, it's a little bit awkward. Let me show you the weight here. But this is a really, really nice tool to have. Let me get the scale up here just so you have an idea of how much this weighs. All right. Get it measured out. Okay. So this measures 1.5 ounces or 42 grams. Hopefully you can read it there. Let's see. Yeah, there you go. 42 grams. So this is ultralight. You have to have something. You don't want to go without some sort of leash attachment to yourself, but you attach this to your harness. In fact, let me tilt this down. Zoom in here so you can see how this all works. So you've got this guy right here, and you just simply pass it through, pull it around, make a basic lark's head, which is, or the girth hitch, which is featured in the Most Crucial Knots to Know book, by the way. Links in the description. But that girth hitch will totally work. It looks exactly like a lark's head. The knot's the same, it's just attaching, it's a little bit different. And then you're ready to go. Clip it in, like here. You get this guy. Yep, and then you clip it in here. Spin, 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 spin to lock it. And voila, you're ready to go. Downside, big downside, it clatters like crazy. Now, I'm going to zoom back out, set this up. All right, now you might say, hey, that clatter is irritating. Well, considering if you've got ice screws and stuff clattering on your harness, that's always the nature of the beast. So the temptation would be, well, Aaron, why don't you do this? I'll explain why you don't want to do this in a moment. Let's say we'll use my Venom here. Let's just say I don't want to listen to this clattering. And you put the leash this way, where you attach here and then you attach the little carabiner to your harness. Oh, that sounds great, but let's say we've got an emergency. Somebody falls down a crevasse and you need to use your ice axe as a rescue tool, maybe as an anchor. You punch it in and then, oh man, I got to get this thing off. So I'm going to take this off. And now you've got your leash attached to there, and maybe in your setup, you accidentally get so scared and absorbed, it happens all the time, that you accidentally use this. So even though this is clattery on here, you don't want to attach the ice axe to the loop of the Slinger. You want to attach it to the carabiner, even though it has that annoying clattering. And that's just the sound of mountaineering, where clatter here, crunch in the snow with your crampons and everything else. So this Slinger leash is super, super nice. Brrr, plenty of length. Do be aware though, if you stretch it out and let go, it invariably will throw your ice axe right at your face. And I don't know just the way the universe works, but boy, this thing is super, super sweet. Can't recommend it enough. Spin that closed, lock her up, and I'm ready to punch this thing in, mess with going to the bathroom. I can set my ice axe right there, because if I have to relieve myself and I got to take my gloves off or whatever, I'm going to take off my gloves, which means I have to take this leash off, and that means I lose control of my ice axe. But if I start sliding, this ice axe is flailing around, it'll come right back in my face. But I'd rather still stay attached to my ice axe, where I might be able to get control of it if I start sliding and then arrest myself. So some good, some bad. Climbing is dangerous. refer to a professional guide and everything else. Hopefully this review of the Slinger Ice Axe leash from Black Diamond has been useful and helpful to you. It's kind of an esoteric piece of equipment, but if you do climbing and you need this harness attachment, if you're climbing with a harness, this Black Diamond Couloir is super, super nice. Can't recommend it enough. My name is Aaron Linsdau. I'm a polar explorer and professional adventurer. Please check out links below in the description to my books: Antarctic Tears, Lost at Windy Corner, Adventure Expedition 1, How to Keep Your Feet Warm in the Cold, the Jackson Hole Hiking Guide, 50 Jackson Hole Photography Hotspots, the most crucial knots to know, and my 2024 Total Eclipse Guides, as well as my show Antarctic Tears. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you can get more info like this.